Okay, so writing recursive rules for arithmetic and geometric sequences. My instructions say write a recursive formula for each sequence, okay? So I have a sequence here. I want to be able to write a set of instructions, basically, on how to generate this sequence. And I want my instructions to be symbolic, okay? And writing a recursive rule or formula means that my set of instructions is going to be based on knowing the previous term, okay? So in other words, if I look at this sequence, okay, I have 1, 5, 25, 125. The pattern here is multiply by 5. It's a geometric sequence, and my common ratio is 5, okay? So basically, I want my instructions to say this. Start with the number 1. Start with the number 1. I'm going to write it out in words first, and then we're going to translate it to symbolic instructions. And then to get each other term, or to get the next term, in this sequence, multiply by 5, okay? That's what I need my instructions to say. Start with the number 1. So symbolically, that's what this is saying right here. The value of the first term, or what is the first term in the sequence? What are we starting with? In this case, it'll be 1, okay? So this part of the instructions, okay, start with the number 1 to generate this sequence. That symbolically is what that says right there. The value of the first term in my sequence is 1, or start with the number 1. Now what this says is to get any other terms, okay, any other term number here, okay, we're going to somehow need to put in this multiply by 5 thing, okay? So I'm going to even add to these instructions a little bit, okay? To get the next term in the sequence, okay, look at the previous term, and multiply by 5, okay? So if in words I was trying to tell somebody how to generate this sequence, I would say start with the number 1, and to get any of the other terms in the sequence, or the next term, look at the previous term. So if I wanted the second one, I would go back to the first one, take that number, multiply by 5, okay? Then to get the third term, I take the second term, multiply by 5. To get the fourth term, I start with this one, the third one, multiply by 5, okay? And that'll give me the fourth one. So symbolically, that's what I need to say. So this is to get the next term, or the next term is equal to, okay? I need to put this part in. Look at the previous term and multiply by 5. So what this is going to be is a sub n is equal to, look at the previous term, symbolically looks like this. Okay, look at the previous term. In other words, go back one, look at the value of the term just before, or term number minus 1, and multiply by 5. So symbolically, this says exactly what this says in words. I could also write it like this. A sub n equals a, well, excuse me, if I wanted to put the 5 first, I could put 5 times a sub n minus 1, like that. Okay? And then they're saying for every term starting with the second one, or greater, right? So starting with the second one, and everything greater than that, we're going to follow this set of instructions here. So my final answer would be, the first term is 1. To get each additional answer, you're going to look at the previous term and multiply by 5. All right, so for this next one, okay, first I need to look and see what my pattern is here. So my value of my first term is 9. I'm starting with 9, so a sub 1 is 9. And then how do I get to the second one? I go backwards to 9, and it looks like maybe I'm subtracting 4 every time, okay? Now, starting with 5, if I want the next one, if I want this one, I need to go back to the 5 and subtract 4, okay? So my pattern is this subtract 4. So the formula is very, very similar. Again, start with the number whatever, that's here, start with 9 for this sequence. Now, to get the next term in the sequence, look at the previous term. So symbolically, that's going to look like this. To get any term in the sequence, okay, what you're going to do is look back at the previous term, or back it up 1, go to the value of the previous term, n minus 1, and this time, instead of multiply by 5, we are subtracting 4. Okay? So my recursive rule here would be start with the first term of 9. To get each successive term or any of the other terms, look at the one before and subtract 4.